Why Paul? If Jesus spent years training a specific group of disciples, why wouldn't he use them to reach the Gentiles? Why trust his fiercest enemy to lead the global mission? What made Paul so uniquely qualified that Jesus had to pick him over his own team? Let's break down 4 reasons why Jesus chose an enemy over his own disciples. Before we proceed, let's clear up a major myth about him. Most people think God changed his name from Saul to Paul. Many believe his name was changed by God on the road to Damascus, but the facts tell a different story. He actually carried 2 identities from birth: Saul, his Jewish name, and Paul, his Roman name. When he began his global mission, he made a tactical choice. He used his Roman identity to bridge the gap between his heritage and the Greek world. It wasn't a supernatural name change. It was a brilliant move for the mission. Paul possessed a unique set of qualifications that made him the perfect choice for this mission, credentials that no other person in the ancient world could match. First, the ultimate display of grace, the persecutor to preacher. The most prominent biblical reason Paul was chosen is actually because of his dark past. Before his conversion, Paul, then known as Saul of Tarsus, was the most feared and violent persecutor of the early Christian church. He imprisoned believers and approved of their executions. God choosing the church's greatest enemy to become its greatest champion was a deliberate, powerful statement. Paul himself explains this in 1 Timothy 1:15-16, stating that Christ chose him, the worst of sinners, specifically to demonstrate his immense patience and the radical, transformative power of grace. If God could forgive and use the man trying to destroy the church, he could save anyone, including the pagan Gentiles. Second, a staggeringly rare combination of traits. While many people were smart, Paul possessed a very rare, perfect storm of credentials that very few, if any, others had at that exact moment in history. Greek culture and language. Paul was born in Tarsus, in modern-day Turkey, a major Hellenistic Greek city known for its university and philosophical schools. He was fluent in Greek, the lingua franca of the Roman Empire, and understood Greco-Roman rhetoric, philosophy, and poetry. This allowed him to debate philosophers in Athens, Acts 17, and communicate effectively with non-Jews in ways the Galilean disciples could not. Roman citizenship by birth. This was incredibly difficult to acquire if you were not born in Italy or into nobility. It gave him unparalleled freedom to move through the empire without being hindered by local magistrates. This citizenship gave him legal protections, the right to safe travel along Roman roads, exemption from certain forms of punishment, and the ultimate right to appeal directly to the emperor, which he used to bring the gospel all the way to Rome. Top-tier elite education. He didn't just have a good Jewish education. He was trained under Gamaliel, one of the most famous and respected rabbis in Jewish history. This meant when Paul debated Jewish scholars, they had to respect his theological pedigree. Tent-making trade. He had a highly mobile, in-demand manual skill, working with leather tent-making. This allowed him to fund his own missionary journeys without burdening the new churches or looking like a traveling con artist seeking money. Third, unmatched relentless zeal. The tribe of Benjamin from which he came was historically known for its fierceness and warriors. In Genesis 49:27, the patriarch Jacob prophesied, "Benjamin is a ravenous wolf." Paul embodied this relentless intensity. Before his conversion, he was unmatched in his zeal to destroy the church. After his conversion, God didn't diminish that fire, he simply redirected it. Paul survived shipwrecks, imprisonments, beatings, starvation, and assassination attempts, and he just kept planting churches. It took a person with an almost terrifying level of drive and stamina to accomplish what he did across the Mediterranean. Fourth, independence from the original Jerusalem leadership. If God had used someone who was already part of the original Jerusalem church, the Gentile believers might have felt they were just a sub-branch of a Jewish sect, permanently tied to the authority of Jerusalem and its Jewish customs. By calling Paul independently on the road to Damascus, completely separate from Peter and the other apostles, it established that the gospel for the Gentiles was a direct, equal calling from God, not just a localized offshoot of Judean culture. In short, while others had intelligence, Paul was chosen because his radical conversion proved the very message he was preaching. His credentials were the perfect geopolitical key to unlock the Roman Empire, and his relentless drive ensured the mission would actually get done.